the secret has been revealed. People claim that Clark is getting an early start on recruiting after seeing this photo. Stephanie White, the head coach, strongly opposes Caitlin Clark, night in and night out. She is being pushed around and beaten. Coaches have crushed her confidence. Make Iowa again. Assemble a new group around her. Caitlin needs to leave Indy immediately because it's obvious that Caitlin Black is not a good fit for Stephanie White as a coach. I don't want Caitlin Clark to shoot the ball because of this. I'm probably going to launch a third if I have to. Consecutive ones, your self-assurance simply grows. Without Caitlin and Caitlin Clark, this team cannot succeed. Given how Caitlin Clark has been doing, there are a lot of issues that are currently occurring in Indiana, and it's one thing after the other, one after the other. After being held back by her coach and teammates who don't play her game, Caitlin Clark has had enough of remaining silent. She is calling for significant change in Indiana. She observes that the Indiana Fever require assistance in acquiring players. She isn't considered worthy of being built around. She's taking charge by forming her own team and exposing the deception. Leave a 100% in the comments if you agree with Caitlin. One league's face is Caitlin Clark. One member in this league causes the owners to visualize dollar signs whenever she enters the building or a room. Only one individual is present, and her name is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was a generational talent when she joined the WNBA, a shooter with court vision that few players in the league can equal. He was the all-time top scorer in the NCAA. But rather than being let go, her coach, not the opposition or pressure, has kept her in check. The wrong coach is Stephanie White. For Caitlin Clark, we're going to doubt Stephanie White's capacity to coach Caitlin Clark in particular. Caitlin Clark is the target of Stephanie White's ire. The fact that this front office made a mistake in hiring her is as obvious as day and night. A pattern emerged from several games. Caitlin would ignite the crowd by making back-to-back threes, changing momentum, and then abruptly ceasing to shoot. The coach warned her not to, not because she lost her touch. Shoot. The Liberty game was the most notable instance of this, as she made 5 three-pointers in the first half and hardly touched the ball in the second. Additionally, Caitlin Clark scored 5 points or 5 three-pointers in the first half of this game. In one particular game, Caitlin was shooting like she was always doing, and then she abruptly stopped. Even Caitlin acknowledged that most players are urged to keep shooting after 2 or 3 made shots. But she wasn't. If I have 2 in a row, I'm likely to launch a third, which may not be recommended by a cheerleader, but I have to get it up. If the third one enters, it's as if you're simply attractive. As a shooter, your confidence, in my opinion, just keeps growing. It's simply slipping out of your hand more easily. The rim appears large. She was instructed to defer instead. Bro. Kayla Clark dropped some major gems on the Super Podcast. She made it clear that shooting threes is not something Stephanie White wants her to do. To operate a system that minimized her strengths in order to be safe. Kayla Clark shooting. The ball is not something I want. It's as obvious as day. This fluid offense is what she wants to run. Wanted to avoid shooting those 3? I am also aware that you cannot order a gunman to stop. That isn't coaching. That is sabotage. Caitlin Clark was referring to Stephanie White's lack of interest in her taking shots. This goes beyond mere conjecture. Caitlin voiced her own frustration in a subtle yet obvious way on a podcast. Although she spoke in a controlled tone, the message was clear. Professionally, I feel like as a shooter, like when you see 2 or 3 go in, I'm likely to launch a third, which may not be suggested, but I have to get it up if I have 2 consecutive shots. This is evident in the Liberty game. If the third one enters, it's as if you're simply attractive. As a shooter, your confidence, in my opinion, just keeps growing, simply falling out of your hands. She's being restrained and made to play basketball the way someone else does, not how she wants to. The league isn't prepared for that approach. That up and down is not what they're prepared for. It's not only about her shot either. It has to do with identity. Caitlin performs on instinct. She reads the floor more quickly than most players ever notice. The game is 10 steps ahead of her. All right. She has extraordinary spatial awareness. She was unstoppable at Iowa because of that. Caitlin must be allowed to be herself. It took Caitlin around 30 seconds to hit those 3 threes. In addition to her shooting range, she has the ability to set the pace, improvise, and come up with plays on the spot. Fans paid to watch that. She became a superstar because of it. However, Stephanie White attempted to transform her into someone. She is not, rather than focusing on that. A participant in an offense that uses rigid motion and in which the ball is rarely returned. The most agonizing aspect is that her confidence is clearly being impacted. Once brave, Caitlin Clark now falters. She feigns shots that she would typically fire without contemplating. Rather than following her instincts, she turns to face the bench. Caitlin Clark was wide open on the three-point line, but that isn't her. She almost flipped it over by pumping it in a phony way. She may have turned it over because she was afraid to shoot the ball, in my opinion. When a player feels chained by the person who should be unlocking her, that is what occurs. Caitlin Clark is not seen doubting her jump shots, as if that were bad. The coach could do either way. She had the option of trying to control the attention and choosing ego, or she could just be Caitlin and rule this league. The reason Caitlin's car is losing so many fans is going to be Stephanie White. There needs to be some kind of ultimatum, in my opinion, for Stephanie White in general. She went with structure instead of intuition. The repercussions of her decision to choose a system over a star are now being felt in real time. 2 brilliant coaches have ruined her confidence. Because this goes beyond a coaching error. It is a betrayal. A betrayal of Caitlin's abilities, her potential, and all that she stands for in terms of this franchise's future. Caitlin is aware of it. She won't say it out loud. However, the complete picture is revealed by her body language, silence, and refusal to fit in. There must be a change, and it begins at the top. The team surrounding Caitlin Clark hasn't performed much better if the coaching has failed her. The way the Fever are losing is more important than the fact that they aren't winning. The parts are not compatible. There's a chemistry problem. Even worse, the company appears to be totally out of tune with Caitlin's necessities for survival. She was not drafted to fit into a puzzle. Indiana is unwilling to build around her, even though she is the system. First, let's address the most evident issue: basketball IQ. Caitlin was raised in Iowa, where all of the players understood their roles and the importance of timing, spacing, and selfless play. She hasn't discovered that in Indiana. Her teammates, on the other hand, are always making bad choices with the ball, ignoring mismatches, and failing to produce sequences off the ball. They don't play her game, not because they're lousy players. Basketball players on the Indiana Fever have low IQs. The game is incomprehensible to them. And when your team's top player thrives on rhythm, flow, and accuracy, that's a serious issue. Aaliyah Boston is among the few players who have truly performed well when playing without Caitlin. Playing off of Caitlin, Aaliyah is fantastic. Is capable of making wise choices when Caitlin passes it to Leah after drawing both defenders. Now, 3 defenders are up against Aaliyah and the other 3 Fever members. Aaliyah is capable of making the best choice. Boston frequently finds herself in an advantageous position and executes wise plays when Clark draws defenders. Synergy like that is what you can build on. The same is true for Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. Role players who don't try to take over the attack, hustle, and stay in their lanes. The rest of the team, however, has had a very difficult time adjusting. Sophie, Lexi, etc. However, the others simply aren't. Can't use it to replicate Iowa. For example, veteran Kelsey Mitchell is accustomed to being the first choice. Even though the Fever lost season after season, she was the center of the offense for years. She isn't prepared to pass the torch at this time. On the court, it's evident. She will interrupt the flow when Clark is getting heated, force isolation plays, and wave Caitlin off during transition. Both the tension and the disconnect are evident. He's having a hard time giving that up to Caitlin. Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey is not. You cannot use her to reproduce Iowa. There are more than simply individual players, though. A star-centered culture is not reflected in the team's culture. In Iowa, Caitlin's colleagues accepted their positions. Players who knew how to stretched the floor, moved without the ball, and sought to set screens and get her open. All too frequently, belongings in Indiana become clutter. No space is present. Gamers are gathered around. The screens are ill-timed or weak. The worst part is that Clark is often left stranded, attempting to force something out of him or dribbling out the shot clock. Disorder. The fact that Caitlin is already looking for athletes who relate to her outside of the Fever locker room is telling. There is more to her relationship with Sabrina Ionescu than friendship. It has to do with basketball IQ. She and Sabrina are spending a lot of time together. She and Sabrina are close friends. Caitlin is actually attempting to replicate Iowa. Right now, the goal is to locate allies who can observe the game as she does, since it's obvious that the organization doesn't care about helping her. She's attempting to replicate the atmosphere that made her great. She observes that the Indiana Fever require assistance in acquiring players. They're not proficient at it. They don't believe she's a celebrity. She isn't considered worthy of being built around. She isn't considered deserving of consultation. She is most likely going to go out and do that herself. Not to mention the draft. It's an excellent opportunity for Indiana to express support. Kate Martin, Caitlin's old teammate, was free. She could have made the move to the pros easier because she already understood Caitlin's rhythm and had connection with her. However, Indiana won, rather selecting guys who narrowly serve a vet camp for training. That choice was quite telling. Has nothing to do with skill. It involved disregarding Caitlin's needs. The fact that some of Caitlin's teammates are displaying opposition, both on and off the court, is even more concerning. There were no people from Caitlin's group during a recent protest about team shirts. There was no conflict of schedule. That was a message, a split. A team split between a new face the franchise won't embrace and old allegiance. Additionally, the front office keeps sending conflicting messages. They aggressively market Caitlin, give her public acclaim, and leverage her reputation to sell out arenas. However, they fail when it comes to assembling a successful lineup around her. They consistently select dependable, well-known players above shooters, passers, and intellectuals who may help her improve. They refuse to give Caitlin Clark leadership, authority, but they do want the money that comes with her. The bottom line is as follows. There is more to Caitlin Clark than just a rookie. She is more than a mere player. As the most successful school in NCAA history, she is the most influential person in women's basketball in decades. The supporters are aware of it. The media is aware of it. Everyone in the league is aware of it. However, her own franchise doesn't seem to notice. Furthermore, the harm can be irreversible if they don't start creating a roster based on her vision, pace, and style. Because statistics aren't the only thing at stake. It has to do with trust. The Fever had the opportunity to create a dynasty, but instead they have surrounded their star player with a team that lacks belief, movement, and passing. A team that is improving. One player and a coach handle the operations of this dynamic team. It sounds as though the coach is intentionally working to prevent the player from doing what the supporters want to see. And Caitlin is taking notes in a sharp and quiet manner, and it appears that she is preparing to demand the adjustments that no one else is willing to make. No press conference has been called by Caitlin Clark. She hasn't made angry posts or made trade demands on social media. Don't be fooled by the silence, though. She is taking measured, methodical, and silent action. Because Caitlin will figure out a way to create her own system if the Indiana Fever are unwilling to provide it. And this season, every little thing she's done is hinting at something. She has had enough of waiting for this crew to solve the problem. Let's start with the picture that made people talk, side by side. Caitlin Clark and Sabrina Ionescu are grinning, laughing, and engaged in a conversation. It initially appeared to be two buddies spending time together over All-Star Weekend. Insiders, however, recognized it right away as a recruiting opportunity. Caitlin, the rookie who already has a league on her back, and Sabrina, a successful winner with a winning strategy. They are more than just companions. Their minds are in sync, both professionally and stylistically. They have the same perspective on the game. Additionally, Caitlin spends more time with Sabrina and other similar individuals than with her teammates. That isn't a coincidence. Caitlin realizes now that this roster isn't made for her. Therefore, she does that on purpose. Is not being defended by the coaching staff. She is not entirely trusted by the front office. Thus, if they refuse to construct it, she will. Already, she's identifying athletes that complement her style. People who can read the defense, space the floor, move without the ball, and put the team before themselves. Caitlin wins because of those who understand the job, not those who are attempting to prove a point or salvage their reputation. She was particularly successful with players who had high IQs and no inflated egos. Recall that this is the same athlete that played with and established her legacy at Iowa. Teammates who didn't focus on themselves. They trusted her vision, set screens, and cut hard. A playbook wasn't the source of such chemistry. It resulted from mutual hunger, trust, and repetition. They're not even close to that, Indiana. Thus, Caitlin is establishing the foundation for reviving Iowa in the WNBA, bringing girls who are pleased to arrange a screen and who know how to do it. Searching all day for Caitlin, she outgrew everything around her, not by pleading for it. Check out the outcry over the All-Star jersey. The members of Caitlin's camp were conspicuously absent, while almost all of the prominent WNBA players stood together, sporting identical message shirts. This was no accident. It was a split, a quiet statement that she is no longer following the herd, particularly when the herd doesn't follow her. It's another indication that Caitlin is defining her own boundaries, drawing her own lines, and declining to participate in stories she did not write. Her behavior on the court has also changed. She doesn't complain when teammates overlook her during quick breaks. She doesn't respond when benched throughout important stretches. She remains mute as the offense devolves into mayhem, and she watches helplessly from the corner. However, quietness is not acceptance. It's a calculation. She's mentally noting who dribbles out the clock and who shares the ball, who runs with her and who holds her back, observing which coaches give her the freedom to take charge and which ones pull her away as soon as she starts to move in time. The secret has been revealed. People claim that Clark is getting an early start on recruiting after seeing this photo. Stephanie White, the head coach, is strongly opposed to Clark Caitlin. She is being abused, accusing around night in, night out. Fought. Coaches have crushed her confidence. Make Iowa again. Assemble a new group around her. How is the front office doing? Caitlin is fully aware of what they left behind. In the draft, she witnessed them pass over Kate Martin, her basketball twin, her college friend, and her safety net, the one individual who was aware of her moves before they were made. A few weeks later, the guy the Fever had chosen was waived. It was more than a draft error. Caitlin clearly heard the message that was conveyed. Even worse, the company still minimizes her celebrity status, utilizing her picture to promote tickets while pressuring her to follow a set of rules that stifle her unique qualities. They use her to promote items, increase ratings, and fill arenas. They freeze. However, when it comes time to construct around her, They favor loyalty above reason and familiarity over usefulness. When the structure fails, they punish her because they expect her to bear the burden. It's obvious that Stephanie White is not the best coach for Caitlin Clark. Thus, Caitlin needs to get the hell out of Indy. Caitlin Clark shooting the ball is something Stephanie White does not want. I'm probably going to launch a third if I have 2 consecutive ones. Your self-assurance simply grows. Without Caitlin Clark being Caitlin, this team is nothing. The way that Caitlin Clark has been working out is one of many things that are going wrong in Indiana right now. It's one thing after another. This goes. Beyond basketball, it has to do with control. The Fever didn't want the fire, but they did want the buzz of Caitlin Clark. They didn't want to be responsible for it, just wanted the attention. They didn't believe in her, but they wanted to. Market her. The fissures are clearly visible because Caitlin Clark possesses numerous qualities, including intelligence, discipline, and humility. She isn't naive, though. She is aware of the political landscape. She is aware of being taken advantage of. She is now transitioning from franchise savior to architect without a name. She's planning what to do next. Make Iowa again. Void giving her a 6 in 2014. Assemble a new group around her. That could entail making internal roster changes, pressuring the front management to make adjustments, or ultimately attempting to force a trade to a team that acquires it. She's already starting to put things together. We are witnessing the start of a power struggle. Additionally, don't error. The cards are in Caitlin's possession. This league is in every headline because of her. She is the one who sells out venues, breaks viewership records, and converts casual followers into ardent supporters. In women's basketball, she ushered in a new era. And in a system that was never intended to help her thrive, she isn't going to let that momentum die. Caitlin Clark doesn't have to use words to force change. Her quiet, her play, her relationships, and her quiet all the talking is being done by moves. And because she's more than just a player, she will take her vision elsewhere and leave the Indiana Fever behind if they don't start paying attention. The future lies with her. And the rules are already being rewritten for the future. Very, very obvious. She was wounded. You simply don't let it get better. Her ass keeps getting thrown back out there by you. She is good, she tells you. It's not Caitlin Clark pleading. She's not begging. It's order to fit into a system that was never designed for her. She is demanding with every pass, every look, and every silent denial. Your coach continues to lie and dismiss it as a normal occurrence. But it's not day-to-day anyway. She was tamed by the coach. The front office misjudged her, and the roster did not reflect her. However, Caitlin has made it apparent. Either the Fever goes down Aretha, she will find somewhere that will, or everything. It's more than just a warning. It's a takeover blueprint because celebrities, they take action without waiting for authorization. Command.